My name's Rob Nevitt. I'm the festival director of Celluloid Screams. It's 7:20, and we finally got a slide on screen. Awesome. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, welcome to the UK premiere of Cell Count. Basically, when we first saw this film, we see a lot of American indie movies in the programming of this festival, and a lot of them are very, very run-of-the-mill. And this one was a bolt from the blue because it feels like a kind of vintage, not vintage in as in it feels old or antiquated, but it feels like vintage Cronenberg or Carpenter to me, and that is the greatest thing you can find when you're trying to program a festival. It's very icky, if that's a good word to use. It's kind of gross and brilliant. So I'm going to introduce the director who's come over to also participate in a Q&A after the screening. Please welcome Todd E. Freeman.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out and watching our weird little movie. Yeah, I'm going to be around afterwards for a Q&A, and then I've also got some posters and T-shirts to give away to anybody who's interested. I hope you enjoy the movie.
Thank you. The sambuca that some of you have been given, if you wanted it, this isn't like a participation Rocky Horror thing. Please do drink it. Don't throw it on each other or set fire to it or anything like that. Okay, the movie. Oh, I should tell you about the shorts that are on before it. That's a good idea. Basically, about a year ago, maybe 2 years, we committed to screen a film that was actually in production and we hadn't even seen it, which is a bit of a risky strategy. But the reason for that is it was the first short film that was in production from Jovanka Vukovic, who is the former editor of Rue Morgue magazine. Genuinely a genre powerhouse, if there ever was one. And basically, she's turned out this amazing short film, which is The Captured Bird, that is on before the film. And then what she said to us in a recent email is, I've got this other film that she's just made as part of the Toronto Talent Lab, as part of the Toronto International Film Festival, called Self-Portrait. And she said, well, what I'm trying to do is, if I can't be there in person, could you screen Self-Portrait before The Captured Bird, as in lieu of me being there? So this is kind of Jovanka's introduction, were she here. So I hope you enjoy both films and Cell Count, and stick around for the Q&A. Cheers. I'll start off with a first question, then we'll maybe open it to the audience. What was the kind of starting point? What was the genesis of this project for you?
Yeah, my mom was diagnosed. She was in a shopping center, and she fell to the ground unexpectedly, and she was rushed to the hospital. She had, they found out that she had a tumor that had exploded in her stomach, and they opened her up and got it all out. But then she went through chemotherapy for 8 months and all of that stuff. So this was sort of my weird, messed up way of dealing with that tragic event. Best part of the story is my mom's fine. So.
And you work with your brother on. Do you work together on all projects?
Yeah, he and I co-produced and co-shot this, which I wrote and directed, and then right before this, we made a movie that he wrote and directed called The Weather Outside, and I co-produced and co-shot it with him. So yeah, we always work together.
I think if everyone was here for the introduction, I as I said, we see a lot of kind of American sort of independent films through programming for the festival, and when you sent this one in, it was just like a breath of fresh air, because there's a kind of certain shorthand and a certain type of film that's perhaps often dictated by budget or dictated by viewpoint, and this one kind of came completely from left field for us. So it was like I said, it was a real kind of bolt from the blue. And in terms of perhaps the way you approach it and maybe your influences, because to me it's very, very Cronenberg, very Carpenter as well. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can tell by all of the sort of the character names, Russell Carpenter, there's all sorts of, Blair Norris, which is, character names from The Thing. So obviously Carpenter was a huge The Thing, as well as the original Alien, with sort of it being more of a character piece early on, and then the shit hitting the fan. Or the dog exploding, I guess.
I'm sure we're going to have some questions from you guys. Have we got any questions from the audience? Okay, yep, one at the back. Just wait for the microphone to come to you, please.
Normally in horror films like that, you have random characters who've never met anybody before, they don't know each other, but you chose to have a husband and wife, and I just wondered why you chose to do that when all the other characters seem to be just randoms and put together.
I think a lot of that had to do with, even though it was, my personal experience was with me and my mom, but it's, how much you love your mother and those kind of things. So it's, I tried to equate it to, you start imagining what you would do to save the one or one of the people that you love. So I thought it was sort of an interesting thing during that time, all of the different people that I ran into that were by themselves and sort of isolated situations. So it was sort of bringing the two together, the idea of this, love, but then also these people who were sort of left alone to fend for themselves.
Another question? Over here. Just press the button, sir. Press and hold.
So, what was your absolute favorite part of making this movie? And specifically, if there is, besides the broad, like the actors,
Favorite's sort of a strange way to put it, but Adrienne Vogel, when she had sort of the leg prosthetic and it was expanding and all of that stuff, was probably the most memorable day, so that kind of makes it my favorite, but I get kind of very uncomfortable in those situations because she's so great and she screams so convincingly. So, it bothered me, and so that's why I think it was so effective, because I was sitting there, waiting to call cut when someone that trusted me was just waiting to be let off the hook. So, but that was probably my favorite moment, and obviously an exploding dog's always fun to do.
Cool. Okay, we've got a question over here.
I just wanted to see you run over there. Anyway, when it comes to medical experiments, why a German accent?
Early on, Christopher Toyne, who played the role, had the idea, and I didn't know what to think of it until we got on set the first day. And it's one of those things where this cut is probably 15 minutes shorter than the cut you even saw first. There's a bit more of a story in the beginning, but it was all based in sort of this hard reality of the life that they lived. So when he comes in, with his German accent, immediately you switch into, oh, this is a movie. So that's sort of, I think, the moment in which you kind of go, okay, this isn't just going to be some, downtrodden, which, obviously it opens with a very, emotional, sad thing that everyone hates, the idea of that moment. But then immediately when this guy comes in with a German accent, sometimes bad German accent, you immediately are put at ease because you're like, oh, I'm in a movie world. So.
By the time the exploding dog comes around.
Yeah. Yeah.
No question? Over the side.
So how many takes did it take for getting the exploding dog scene right? Sorry, now my actual question is, you've left it as an open ending. Are you planning to do something again? A sequel of sorts?
Yeah, that was sort of the original idea. The original ending that I had written was much more of a very closed ending with, more people dying and exploding and all sorts of stuff like that. But then I sort of had this idea. When I grew up, my dad used to show me like 1940s serials that were open-ended and sort of cliffhangers, and it sort of took me back to that moment in time. And I love the idea of leaving somebody on the edge of their seat, but then also following through and maybe, telling the rest of the story, because obviously there's a lot left to tell with the man with a bomb inside of him and such.
Some of it seemed quite allegorical. The film, the characters, the archetypes, they seem kind of not specific enough to be sort of overly involved.
Right.
Although I know take your point about the couple, and the guy who kept having visions about the future and things like that seemed to point towards something broader.
Yes.
Obviously, not going to give any easy answers, but I just wondered, what some people what you think some people might take from it in that sense.
From the time traveling man, is that what you're talking about specifically? That originally had come from, I made my first movie when I was 20 years old, and to pay for the film, exposing the film, I went into sort of a medical testing facility as an alternate, which means basically it's a 7-day study, but they need people to come in for 2 days just in case the people that they are testing on either run out of the building or something bad happens and they have a bad reaction. So I was a alternate for 2 days, and I met a guy who had a book full of his solution to time travel. So that's sort of where it initially came from, was sort of this crazy character, but then also, sort of playing with the idea of what does he know that everyone else doesn't. And then there's also some other themes that we're going to be going into, hopefully, when we make the sequel, which is some more silly fun.
This might be a bit of an odd question. It might have just been me, but some of the more intense scenes seemed quite quiet.
Yep.
And whereas a lot of other films would be screaming and music blaring and all sorts of stuff like that. Was that intentional, and what sort of inspired that, I guess?
Early on, we sort of made a decision, even with the scene, when the guy gets down on his knees and, is going to get hit with an axe. We decided to not show some of the violence. So a lot of that comes from sort of, we played around with different cues during those scenes, and we made it louder and bigger. But then we kind of pulled it back and realized that it was maybe a lot more effective and a lot more fun if you were just in there with them. Yeah. Three quick.
There was a black and white picture in the film of the doctor, Dr. Brandt, and he was wearing fairly old attire, which made me wonder whether he's a great deal older than anybody else in the movie, if he's a Nazi, if he's been around a long, long time, and if it's the final solution or the ultimate solution or whatever. Can you explain further?
The short, very unsatisfying answer is you'll find out in the sequel.
I want to thank you for allowing us to show the UK premiere of the film. I think it's wonderful. Obviously, else we wouldn't have shown it. And thank you for making such a great movie, and it's been a great part of our festival. If you all just want to put your hands together one more time. If you have got any more questions, Todd's going to be upstairs. We've got posters and T-shirts, and if you want to have a chat.
And Tom Hodge is also here, who designed the poster, so you can bother him as well up there. He likes to be bothered.
Cool. Thank you very much. And there are, if you haven't got tickets yet, there are still some tickets available for the Secret Film, which is next up at 9:45. We may stretch that 5 minutes ahead, but or beyond, whatever. Thank you.